Please know that stories that you are telling and sharing have real purpose and meaning and power. Thank you. Thank you. Those stories can turn hearts and change minds, and that's the reason why earlier this year, Tim and I decided to share our story too, after such a long time. When the Alabama Supreme Court came down with that ruling on IVF, I have to tell you, it brought us to our knees. We heard the stories of folks like Latoya and people getting sent away from health clinics and told that they had to put their dreams of having children and a family on hold indefinitely. And it just brought us right back to that moment where Tim and I were having to make some of those decisions ourselves, but they were our decisions to make at that time. It brought back a crush of emotions that we hadn't felt in many, many years. You see, our path to parenthood wasn't easy. We had struggled to have children. We knew we wanted to have a family, but we had struggled. And we were only able to start our family because we had access to fertility treatments. And even then, it was quite a long journey. We didn't share that with hardly anyone. It was personal. It was our own story. So it was almost too much to bear to even tell our friends and family, because then the disappointment felt exponential. But the one person we shared our story with was our neighbor, Mary. And we had to tell her because we needed her help. You see, the process we went through required that I get these frequent injections. Some of you who've been through this process know that injection. And it happens back behind. And so I couldn't do that myself. And now I know you all are learning how great Tim is, but let's just say it's a good thing he didn't become a nurse or a doctor, because no matter how much he tried or practiced, he couldn't quite do it. He couldn't give those shots. So our neighbor Mary, who was a nurse, said, "Let me help," when we asked her. That process lasted for us for years, month after month. We desperately wanted that phone call that said we had been successful. That phone call that would maybe change everything for us. But then the phone call would be that it hadn't quite worked this time. And that journey was hard, but we kept going and it was worth it. Eventually we had our daughter, and it's no accident that we named her Hope. And after another 5.5 years, we had Gus. And those two kiddos are the center of our world. We cannot imagine our lives without them. And so that's how we knew, in the wake of Alabama ruling, that we had no choice but to speak out at that moment. We'd hardly shared the story, as I said. We'd closed that chapter of our lives, a little bit like, I don't know, after you get your driver's license, you forget about that test and all those things, right? But only so much magnified in so many ways. But after Alabama, it suddenly became very real for us in a way that it hadn't been for decades. Tim and I looked at each other and we knew we just couldn't fathom that people couldn't make their own choices about their own families, and we could not let their hope be stolen.